So yeah, this is an opportunity to walk around. If you'd like to see the rear of these heads, please feel free to circumnavigate.
And so the second room focuses on a group of portraits that he made in the same time period, focused on children, mostly friends of the family, friends of his daughter Pearl, who would come by the house and studio in Berkeley. We know the center figure is a portrait of Elizabeth G., who was a Chinese. Pearl lived in the neighborhood, was a friend of his daughter, and it has almost like a Chinese celadon style glaze on the outside, and I believe that the material is porcelain, which is unusual for Sargent Johnson's work. The base has a kind of lacquer-like look to it, and yet it's not simply a Chinese figure. It looks a lot to me like an Italian Renaissance bust sculpture, like from the Della Robbia workshop, where they're really frontal pose and straight gaze. And then the works around, you may know from the Huntington's collection, The Head of a Boy, which is on the left of this platform. It is a glazed figure, it has this beautiful green, blue glaze that melts in the kiln and just kind of swirls around the facial features. It's a beautiful object, and if you look close, you'll see a little bit of gilding around the eyes and the lips. And we've borrowed next to it the unglazed terracotta version of the same sculpture, that from the Amistad Research Center at Tulane University. It's really wonderful to see these two works together, and we did some conservation treatment to reveal more of the original surface. And then on the far side, we've got Chester, who kind of became the star of the show. He made it to the front cover of the book and then the banners. A lovely, very delicate, very sensitive, very emotive image of, we don't know much about him. I think he's described as the kid that came by the studio. And that is from SF MoMA. And then finally, at the end, a beautiful sculpture that is on view for the first time in many years. It's Esther, which was made, we think, in the late 1920s. It was purchased for the San Diego Museum of Art in 1930, becoming the first work by Sargent Johnson to enter a museum collection. And it was on view for some time, and then it was broken and smashed and put back together. And it had not been on view for a very, very long time in San Diego, but we did extensive conservation work on the exterior of it to get it ready for display and created a new base for it. So it's really exciting to kind of show this work, I wouldn't say for the first time, but for the first time in many years, and hopefully once it goes back to San Diego Museum of Art, it'll go back on display.
Yeah, for me, this is personally one of the most important pieces of the exhibition because for so many reasons, but one of them is that it was the first of his pieces acquired by a museum in America at a time when almost no American museums were acquiring work by Black artists, especially Black modernists. And when the museum exhibited it, they exhibited it for several years until the mid-40s when it was broken. And presented it simply as one of their modernist sculptures with a little plaque that identified it as a gift on behalf of the colored citizens of San Diego. We think it was a gift made jointly by members of the local chapter of the NAACP and by some local advocates of modernism in San Diego at the time. And the museum director, when writing about it in the 1930s, wrote about it as an example, as a really good example of California modernism at the time. So it's a sculpture that was important in San Diego. They showed it when they had a World's Fair in San Diego in 1934. They showed it regularly as part of their collection of modernist sculpture until it was broken. And so with the restoration that's been done, the San Diego Museum will be able to display it again. We'll be able to exhibit it again. And I think they're really excited about that opportunity to put it on display once more. So it's a really important piece. And to me, this is one of the successes of the exhibition, that this piece and a few others in the show were able to care for and to make sure that they're preserved, for posterity, and so that museums and other places will be able to continue to display them.